Steve, what camera we supposed to be looking at, man? All of them.
It's all about shit with my grill in. I can't let it fuck up my flow. Let these little niggas run up the score.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy King Sheem, the American Dream for the Checkmate Podcast. Here, telling y'all live today at 2:30. I'm sitting down with Steven the Dream. Not Stephen A. Smith, but Stephen E. Smith. It's this, that, and the third, and all that's in above. Because you already know what is going down, baby. King Sheem, the American Dream, the CEO, the owner of the Checkmate Podcast, of Checkmate Official, is going down. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. Make sure y'all tune in. The link will be in this post. Appreciate all the support, all the haters, the doubters, the lovers, and the supporters. Man, it's Catch Up or Stay Playing Checkers. We are more than a podcast. 2 words, God's work, our hands. 2 words, checkmate.
Yo, we are in the building. This, that, and the third interview series, CIAA edition. It's your boy, Steven the Dream. I am live. Like I told y'all, man, we bringing out people from all walks of life on this show. If you from the Carolinas and you got something to put on for, you need to be on this platform. I got my guy from the Checkmates podcast live in the building, King Sheem. What's good with you, man?
What's going on, man? Hey, I'm happy to be here, man. Yo, everybody. It's your boy King Sheem, the American Dream, from the Checkmate podcast, sitting down with this, that, and the third, man.
Absolutely.
Sitting down for the first time, man. I never been on this side, yo. Like being on this side is a little different. You know what I mean? So if I start interviewing you, don't take it the wrong way.
I'm gonna understand. I'm gonna understand, but the first question I'm asking everybody when they come here is first and foremost, what are your plans for CIAA, and what has been your favorite CIAA moment? How long have you been in the city, actually?
Well, okay, so I lived here almost 3.5 years, but I stayed in Fort Mill.
Okay.
Now, I used to drive down in Virginia when I was in the military when my boys come down for CIAA.
Okay, so then you know.
So we got some major memories then. I don't really have too many major memories now that I live here, but when we used to drive down here, it was some cool stuff, man.
Okay.
So,
what do you got planned this week?
So we actually took a big break this time. All-Star, we hit it so hard, man. We hit 9 events in like less than 4 days, and I took off work. It was just one of those things where it was epic. I'm talking about from the time we would get there like 2 o'clock, we wouldn't get home till like 3 or 4 in the morning. So we really hit it hard. So I gave my team pretty much the weekend off, but we did end up taking up one event tonight. We're going to be at the Loft and Cellar with my boy Six Figure Entertainment, my boy Kurt. We covering over there. We actually covered an event for him during the All-Star at Loft and Cellar. It was with my boy DJ Envy. And my boy Muggsy was hosting, so it was a really dope event, man. So after that, me and him built a relationship. He loved what we did. Shout out to my cameraman, K Digital Media, because after he saw the cuts and the way that we put it together, he was like, yo, I need y'all again. So we'll be up in there.
Dope. Well, let's get right into it, man. King Sheem, you're the host of the Checkmate podcast.
Number one,
staking the claim. What is the Checkmate podcast, and what do you guys talk about? What's your content? What is it?
Well, the reason why I say number one is because, well, first off, we're the first based out of like relationships. Like our podcast is all about relationships. No matter what the topic is, we're talking about relationships. Right. I did a lot of research before I started this podcast. When I started this podcast, I was looking for different people's podcasts that had a man and a woman on the forefront. And so what it was about was, what I did not like when I looked around at different cities and states and listening to different things was we weren't given an even playing field to the man and the woman. A lot of times it was either more woman or it was either more man. So my thing was to get the even playing field like chess. Like chess, what people don't understand is the king is nothing without the queen, and the queen is nothing without the king. So when Checkmate was formed, I thought of it like, let's bring a better light to our kings and queens, especially our brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying, as far as our African Americans. So that's really what it is, because at the end of the day, we royal, and a lot of times if we don't consider ourselves a king or queen, we would then settle for people to treat us like whether we are peasant or a pawn or a rook. We got to understand that in this day and age, we are who we say we are, and if you carry yourself as such, then nobody can tell you different.
That's true. That's true. I want to ask you, was the Checkmate podcast the first podcast you ever did? Was it the first time ever in, that type of media, that type of lane?
It was funny because when I arrived to Charlotte, I supported a lot of people with different things, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I came out here to do marketing and do some type of entertainment.
Okay.
But what happened is a lot of people approached me to be a comedian. A lot of people approached me to be on the radio because of my voice and just, you know what I'm saying, how I carry myself. But I got to give a shout out to my boy Joe Budden, and the reason why is because I really rock with Joe Budden hard.
Yeah.
And with his music was one thing, but when he went to the podcast world, it reminded me of me and my boys, how we used to talk at the barbershop. Because I always got something started at the barbershop. Anytime, no matter who was in the barbershop, I would always have people talking and socializing and being entertained. So when I looked at it, I was like, well, I don't want to be on the radio because, one, I don't like a lot of music, and I'm blunt, so I'm going to tell you your music whack. Right. So, like, if you come there for an interview and I feel like you didn't go hard on your song, I'm going to tell you. So I didn't want to do that lane because then I would have been like Charlemagne, but I'm not going to be running, never that. So what I did was I said, you know what, let's take it into a different realm. Let's go into a world where I can talk and people can listen, but also they could be entertained. And that's where the podcast thing came. When I started watching Joe Budden's podcast and I thought about making my own, that's the first time I was like, okay, I'm going to be on the podcast. Now, I've been on microphones. I've done music. Right. I've performed in front of, you know what I'm saying, big crowds and stuff. I retired from being a rapper a long time ago. Okay. And so I've always wanted, not the spotlight, but I love entertaining people. Like, I don't get nervous around anybody, no matter who it is. And just to really answer your question was, the biggest thing with the podcast was the eye was on me and the eye was on my beliefs and my opinions, and nobody could tell me how to say what I needed to say. That's what the biggest thing was.
So then I want to ask you, why are you someone that we should listen to about relationships? Why are you in a relationship? Is it something from your past that you know you have?
The reason why people should listen to me about relationships is because, first off, because one, my parents been married 39 years. Okay. So I've been raised in a home where two parents were married, so I see it from different levels. So my parents have had a great marriage. Me, I've had terrible relationships. Not terrible, but they've been good, but they've been for short periods of time. But I've learned so much about dating so many women and watching so many things. I can tell you a lot of my friends in relationships, they call me for advice all the time just because the way I think. I don't think like most men. Like, I think like I'm out of the box with a lot of different things. Like, I don't like men that, you know what I'm saying, run through a whole bunch of women and not tell them what they're doing, or lying to get a certain woman to lay down with you, or you saying you capping on another dude to try to get this woman to holler at you. That's not how it works, man. You just got to be you. You just got to be the best you. Like, that's really what it's about. So with me, with relationships, I'm going to give it to you raw and real. And I'm also going to give these women some secrets, too. I hate it when Steve Harvey wrote that book. Now, this is what the thing was. So the Steve Harvey book, when I read it, it pissed me off because that's how I live my life. My dad taught me all that stuff. So when I read it, I'm like, yo, what are you doing? Like, you telling these women everything. But the part that got me was they read the book and they got nothing from it. So to me, he gave out all the secrets. He gave out all the codes. They just didn't want to take them. So what I do is I tell certain things where men should wise up and women should wise up. Okay. And that's just how it go.
Okay. Wow. You made a good point there. Not too much change. Like, all the game was laid out.
And they still don't get it. Like, and it's so funny because I put my sisters on the game, I put my homegirls on the game, but it's like reading that book, I was so mad until the women read it and didn't get what they were supposed to get out of it. So that bothered me. Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm good then. Because if y'all really read that book, y'all can master the way that these men really work, but y'all ain't really read the book. It's one thing to read. It's one thing to apply.
Right.
They ain't apply. They ain't learn it.
King Sheem, I've had terrible relationships. I don't know what. It's usually probably my fault. Like, I'll just go ahead and just state the claim. Have you ever had an example of somebody giving you, hey man, my producer is terrible today, man. I don't know what's going on with him. He's just out here. But no, let me get back. Have you ever had an example of somebody who has come to you for advice and has taken that advice and has come to you with a testimony that's worked out? Or maybe I've listened to your podcast and left a comment or just a testimonial about anything that they've heard that y'all have said on the show?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I can't really name their names, but they've actually been certain instances where they've listened to my podcast, applied what I said, and saw the change in their relationships. Because I'm not pro men, I'm not pro women. Like I'm in the middle. Like I have my own side. I think the way I think. I give you my opinion on it, and then I give you the opinion that if you want to follow it, you'll get great results. If you don't, you don't. So that's just, I mean, success stories, definitely. I've kept a lot of my boys in relationships.
Okay.
When they call me and they got certain things going on, and we sit back and I be really raw with them, because I'm going to give them a different type of side, because one is not too many people have had that two parents, 39-year marriage. And my parents ain't just married 39 years, like just going through the motions. Like they still date. Like my dad still slaps my mom on the butt, you know what I'm saying, when they out.
They keep
you know what I'm
fresh.
saying? Yeah, and then they be over there calling me, talking about, yo, we just saw a wonderful movie and it took me on a date. You need to go find you a girl, take her on a date to see this movie. I'm like, y'all don't want to hear about this foolishness. Y'all holding hands and walking in the park? No. Like, and that's what they do, and they do it all the time. So
But that's dope, though.
It is dope, and that's what I want in life.
Right.
So with me wanting that in life, it yearns me to be so honed in when it comes to relationships, like doing research and really trying to understand the woman. We'll never understand the woman, but what we can do is understand the type of control that we have to be able to give her the right type of tools so that, one, we keep her energy low, two, we keep her satisfied, and then three, we keep her mentally sane.
Nice. King Sheem from the Checkmate podcast is live with us right now. I don't want to turn this into a free lesson here, because I know they got to go.
No, they got to go. I mean,
you know?
actually, yeah, they really definitely got to
go,
go,
man.
man.
To the podcast to get it all.
And not just the podcast, man. Shout out to the On channel, man. We ain't free out here.
I was
so
gonna get into that.
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely it's
about
not a
your-
hobby. It's not a
Right.
hobby. We get checks, so yeah.
Talk about your progression from because we're in season 2.
Yeah, season 2, man. Big.
Talk
big.
about the progression from the first season to the second season, and how far you guys feel like you've come.
It's funny you say that, man. I'm a fan. Like, people don't, I don't think people get it, man. Like, and I think that's why I rock with Dwayne Wade so hard as a basketball player, because he's a fan of basketball. I'm a fan of podcasts. Like, and I don't just, you know what I'm saying, say that our podcast is good if it wasn't good. Like, I actually sit down sometimes and listen to it and watch it and laugh like it's my first time listening to it.
Right.
So when we started out, it was just all audio, right? But what people don't understand is my vision from the beginning was to make this a TV show.
Okay.
So when we started out in April of last year, I was like, by 2-3 months, we're going to start doing visuals. We did. We went on YouTube. And it didn't get the pop I wanted it to get because I'm not as known as I should be in the city. And a lot of times, too, is I'm more of a commercial type person where I can go up to a person, sell them to buy my product. But for them to go on social media and try to grasp onto it, it's harder. That's why I really salute the baby so much, is because he's had this following to where he has hit them so hard to the point where anything he drops is gold.
It is.
And that's what I'm trying to get to. So as our progression started going, and I started out with one co-host, she ended up leaving, and then I went back to the drawing board, but then I came back stronger. Like I tell people all the time, when one door closes, God gonna open up 3 more. And when I found my 2 new co-hosts, shout out to Celeste Mose and Miss D Brown, we took off. Like we took off. And the crazy thing is what people don't understand is there was a deal already on the table when I had my first co-host, but we were in the process of mulling it over. But when I added Miss D and Celeste, and then we ended up having Star Dallas from Queen City Fame on, and
Shout out to Queen City Fame.
she loved the show, and she said, "Send me a few videos of your show." I didn't know what it was for, honestly. To this day, I still didn't know what it was for. So I sent it to her. You know, people talk, so I just sent it to her. A week and a half later, I'm sitting in the car, phone rings, and it's her, and she's like, "I got some good news for you." I said, "Good news? What type of good news you got for me?" She said, "Well, I sent your show to my producer of the channel that I'm on, and he wanted." I almost crashed the car, man, because it's so big to have validation like that, because you put in this is like my baby, man. I put in so much heart and soul, so much time, so much money to the point where you want it to multiply, you want it to be fruitful. But the biggest thing is when it comes to products, no matter how good your product is, you have to find the audience. So with my progression from season 1, I told my team, I said, we got to do something bigger in season 2. So season 1 to us we got our feet wet.
Right.
Season 2, we took it to a whole nother level. My cameraman was like, yo, I got something for you. We doing an intro. We're going to jump with the intro. Like, it's going down. Like, we're actually going to do, he went to 4K with the 4K quality. And then I said, you know what? K, I want an intro that's so universal that we can send it to anybody and they get hyped for the show. Like, Love and Hip Hop is good because of the intro. And that's why our intro now is like one of the baddest intros that's ever been dropped. So
it's dope. It's dope.
You know it's dope, Steve.
It's dope. Look, man, look, I can only give you so much, man. I'll say this. I seen your podcast definitely progress from its early, actually from the very, very start. And the content was the one thing that I always enjoyed. It was always great content there. Is that something that y'all sit down and work on prior? Is that something that kind of is on the fly? Like y'all just say, all right, this is where it's going to go and we'll go with it here?
I'm going to be honest with you, man. Salute to my co-hosts. I actually don't give them a lot. What I do is I come up with the topics.
Okay.
I send them the topics like the day or two right before we get to the studio, and then we go. Nothing scripted, nothing going over, no practice, because it's a raw show. Right. We don't curse or nothing like that, but it's raw because you cannot prepare for something like that. You cannot prepare for it. So with them is they see the topics, but they can't ask me no questions until we get there and we own it.
So it ain't even no need.
No.
Need to bring it up.
And they don't give me no topics either. There's sometimes where they've come up with something and I might have used it, but for the most part, these topics come out of nowhere. Somebody just asked me recently, they was like, what are you going to do when you run out of content? I said, well, I must be dead, because anytime I wake up every day, I think of a new topic or I think of something new to talk about. So when I wake up and I no longer have a topic, the show wouldn't be no longer. That's how it works.
Okay. King Sheem with his Checkmate podcast.
You always trying to throw the S on there. Is that because you got the S in your Steven? Is that what it is?
I just run all my words together to get country. So it's like
I got you.
Podcast.
I get that part.
Let me ask you this, man. What can we expect from season 2?
Well, season 2 about to be over, actually.
Season 2 is over?
It's almost over, man. It got a couple more episodes. Season 3 is what you need to be ready for. So season 3, I ain't even announced this yet, but I don't know if you know, 2 weeks ago we actually did a live podcast at Recess. Yeah. And we actually combined with Cody from Lagrina on Instagram, Sporty Orty's assistant or whatever. And we did the lip sync battle. We covered it for her. Then we did our live podcast right before the lip sync battle. Well, we recently just made a deal with Secret Society Cigar and Lounge.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing 2 live podcasts a month starting on the 13th of March. Then we also got another one coming. We're going to be at Peace Pipe on I think it's the 26th. But what I'm saying this is because season 3 is transitioning to no longer a podcast. It's going to turn into our live show, which is going to be like a live studio audience show that we're recording at the studio, where we'll have actual live studio audience members from like 10 to 15 people. It's going to be like the reincarnation of Word on the Street.
Okay. So y'all are really taking a step.
Yeah, it's not a game, bro. Like,
that's
my vision is crazy. And the time frame that we've done, the things that we've done, is insane. Like, it's funny, I just told my team, I said what's crazy is we worked so hard last year, right, for those 6 to 8 months. But these last 2 months, I put in more work than I did in the past year and a half. Like, what we've done January and February and the type of things that we done lined up is unreal.
It's been good.
It's unreal. Like, baby jumped out the gate, and that's why I jump out the gate. I'm gonna be honest with you. He motivates me, and that's a friend of the show. Shout out to my boy, the baby. And he motivates me to work even harder, and that's why I post so much. That's why I grind so much. Because people understand his baby did the footwork. This is what man actually put in the work, and he been good. Like, his mind has been the way it's been, and he don't need nobody but himself. And I think when it came to me was, my vision has always been to have $1 million type of enterprise, and putting together this type of entertainment company. I keep telling people we are more than a podcast. That's why we have a sponsored MMA fighter. Shout out to my boy Damo, the Problem Child Brewer. He's 4-1. We just took a win down there in Annandale at the Cowboy Fights. Donald Cerrone, he actually had he has a whole new fight league now, and we also do events and stuff. We put the royal in your event. Like, we are not a one-trick pony. We got the Checkmate apparel. We got the Checkmate media coming. It's a lot of stuff going on, man. Shout out to Goddess Clothing. She got her clothing coming through as well. And, of course, part of my grind, we partnered up with them as well to try to get artists, you know what I'm saying, a different look where it comes to radio play, shoots, and different promos and things of that nature.
So basically what you're telling me is, like, you coming from multiple aspects. I was gonna ask about the marketing and how you do that, though, because I see everything is Checkmate. Everything we're here with.
It's all me, man. It's all me. People don't understand. Like, I work a full-time job. I'm a supervisor. I'm not gonna tell you where I'm a supervisor at, but I work like a 1 to 10 night shift. And when I'm not working, I'm working on this brand. Like, when I tell people, being a CEO is one of the most gratifying, most exhausting, most mind-numbing, greatest thing I ever did type of thing, but I wouldn't change it for the world. When I get up, I grab my phone, I post, because you never know somebody looking on Instagram. You never know who's going to see your content, because it's only going to take that one eye or those 4 eyes to take you to that next level, and that's all we're waiting on. So, I mean, the biggest thing with us is we're going to push forward, and the sky's the limit. But our biggest thing, too, is to bring a platform to a lot of these up-and-coming artists and entrepreneurs. That's why that Rook of the Week is so big and so major to us. So all our Rooks of the Week that have been there and done that with us, wait till y'all see season 3. They're going to be mad. Like, the ones from season 1 and season 2, when they see the ones from season 3, because you know the angles that Undisputed get and The View get, like, we going to have those type of angles. Like, it's going to be bananas the way it is. I can't even let all the cats out the bag, but I'm telling y'all now, the way that this show is about to go, paying $3.99, which is 18 cents a day, to get to a channel with all these great indie products, and you get the home of the Checkmate podcast, the home of the Queen City Fame, the home of the Pride Wives. It's unreal, man. Shout out to Maurice.
Keem, I want to take a quick break, real quick, and then before we get out of here, I want you to give them the information again.
Okay.
About where they can find the show.
Most definitely.
When season 3 starts.
Most definitely.
We'll take a quick break. It's this, that, and the third interview series. We'll be right back.
Go.
Go ahead. We live. This, that, and the third interview series. I want you to, like I said, give the people the information about where they can find you. But I do want to ask you about a situation that you was in prior. If you want to talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
You was with another podcast before, right?
Well,
Or
not necessarily
associated with a podcast?
with another podcast. Well, we was affiliates and we were under the same umbrella.
Okay.
Okay.
Why was it like a business decision to leave there? Was it something personal? Like, if you want to get into
I mean, to be honest with you, so I'm gonna be real with you. So, shout out to No Advisory Podcast. They gave us the platform, meaning they let us use their engineer, they let us use their equipment. But contrary to all that has been talked about, they never tried to write my content. I've never tried to be like they show, and I've never tried to go in their lane. I've always tried to go a different route. But Queen City Awards put a wedge in us. Really? And the reason why I put a wedge in us is because I'm not saying that this person will say that they said this, but I remember us being at the Carolina Music Video Awards, and the guy came up to me and said, y'all are now going to take the moniker, the #1 podcast in the city, in the state, and we going to now start being the #1 show in the city and state. Then 2 weeks later, Queen City Awards dropped the new actual nomination thing and said, we're now looking for a podcast of the year as nominations. And as soon as that happened, they went from being a show back to a podcast. And then it was like, oh, well, now we the best still. And so it caught me off guard because it's cool to have a friendly competition. And I kept saying, this is like LeBron versus Wade, or LeBron versus Durant. But they were taking it as we were throwing shots, and they did a lot of low blows, and we didn't really entertain them.
But what you think?
We took the high road a lot, to be honest. But the craziest thing they did was when my ex-co-host left me, they reached out and became friendly with her. And what was the thing that bothered me the most is y'all knew me first, and y'all come out to help her with her new show that she came out of nowhere, out of left field with, and didn't even tell me nothing and tried to leave me with the bag. But I came back even stronger. But the part that killed me the most was then y'all start posting her posts and start, helping her out, and got your engineer helping her. And then it got to a point where we were using the same engineer. We at the same radio station. And now it then got really bad. So it got to the point where we had to have a conversation. And the conversation we had was one of those type of conversations that got intense. We really never talked face-to-face. It was mostly via text message. And after that conversation, we thought everything was cool, and it still kept going. And then when they started putting posts underneath my post talking about we were jocking their style off of one type of way we were going, that bothered me. Because don't insult my intelligence. Like, I'm a very smart dude. I'm very talented, and I have a lot. My mind is different than a lot of people's mind. Like, I tell people, like, I got a gift, and that gift is, you can't take that away. So that situation was very rocky. Right. Right now, I think we're cordial, but I don't think we would ever, like, partner up and do anything with them. One day maybe we can do like a podcast, like a meet and greet or something.
A podcast meet and greet.
Yeah.
We do need to have a Charlotte podcast meet and greet because they're like you said, there's a lot of good podcasts that are in the city.
Yeah.
But when something like that happens, I know that's very touchy. I think both of you guys have really good podcasts, or really good shows in general. Since now you also are progressing in a different lane as well. Mm-hmm. I would just suggest, like, make sure that in anything you do business-wise, y'all just understand that whatever you go into it agreeing to, you should just hold to the terms,
And that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But the problem that we had was there was never any contracts or anything written out. And so basically what we were doing is we were just paying them to use their equipment, and use the engineer. But when it got to where it was the competition back and forth, and some people have said that our content and the way our structured show was a little bit more structured than theirs. And I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is understand that we both can be in the same realm.
Facts.
But the realm that we in, we on a network, y'all on YouTube. But that don't take away nothing. I'm humble, and I'm always going to support them, even though they don't support us. They unfollowed us and stuff, but it's cool. It's one of those things where what I learned from it is take the high road always, and that's why I did that. So shout out to them. I wish them all success. One day I hope we can all break bread again, and anytime they want to reach out and follow us and us follow them, we can always be there, man. But we still at the same radio station. We just ain't. I can't even tell you the last time we seen each other. We don't do no events. We don't run into each other.
We gotta come up with a solution for that. y'all over there at the station, y'all figure
That's
out how
the
to
funniest
get y'all
part
together,
about
man.
it.
They gotta figure that out. King Sheem, tell the people where they can find the Checkmate podcast one more time.
So it's Checkmate_podcast on Instagram. You can also go to our website, officialcheckmate.com. You can also go to see us on the On channel. That's theonchannel.com. You can get it on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV.
That's dope.
And, of course, online on your computers. And then you can catch me on my personal page at D_Q. And that's about it. And, of course, shout out to K Digital Media.
Dope.
Shout out to Celeste Mose, and shout out to Miss D Brown.
I got to come on the Checkmate podcast so I can get my relationships together, man.
You got to,
It's
man.
hard.
You got to. But I want to say this. I do want to say this, and I want to clear the air. I have no malice against none of them. The only reason I'm speaking on it is because it's the first time somebody's asked me about it in front of this. But I'll say this. That was in 2018. We're in 2019 now. So if anybody want to build relationships with Checkmate, we're all about peace, love, and happiness, and trying to get to the bag and trying to make a better today for a better table tomorrow. So
Dope.
that's it.
King Sheem in the building with me. This, that, and the third interview series, CIAA edition. Your boy Steven the Dream.
Man, shout out to Duke, man. Duke all day, man.
out to
We
Duke
playing
basketball?
today. Yeah, Duke versus Miami today, baby. You know we're gonna bust them up.
Zion
Wilson,
rest up, baby.
Yeah,
That's
he'll be
all
back.
I'm
He'll be
gonna
back
say.
in a week.
Nah, don't come back.
He'll be back in a week,
Don't come back.
and he'll be back for that UNC game to bust them Tar Heels up too.
Don't come back, Zion. It's okay, bro.
King
It's all
Score
good.
told you
It's all
that.
good. It's all good. All right, y'all. This, that, and the third interview series. Steven the Dream.
Oh, wait, time out.
Oh.
I forgot, man. You know what I'm saying? One thing that people gotta understand is when you go to
Okay.
people's house, you gotta always
Okay.
bear gifts. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
We got
So, gotta get my boy right. Got him with the Checkmate T-shirt with the On Channel logo, cause you know if you not got somebody behind you, I don't know how you gonna fall. So that's how it works right
Appreciate
there,
that,
bro. For
my
you,
brother.
right
That's
there.
dope. That's good stuff.
Yeah, that ain't no little bit of stitching, bro. You know what I'm saying? You check us the
Quality.
hoodies, hats.
Quality, folks.
We're doing it big, man. Quality over quantity. That's how we work.
All right, man. It's Checkmate Podcast, King Sheem, Steven the Dream, this, that, and the third interview series.
Let me get that 2 words from you, Steven.
Hey, man, it's Checkmate.
2 words. God's work, our hands, 2 words. Checkmate.